Hey everyone, with the announcement of the Socceroos Squad for the World Cup, I thought I'd do a bit of a video to share my thoughts on the team. A podcast is something I always wanted to try my hand at, but never really had the time to do it. But this is, I think, a good way to do a bit of a trial and error and see how we go. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and if you do, maybe I can do more of these in future. I guess the first thing we can look at is probably the three goalkeepers. This is where I think a lot of fans have been quite vocal about their displeasure on what Graham Arnold has done here. So we do have Matty Ryan, Andrew Redmayne and Danny Vukovic who have been called up. The big omission here is, of course, Mitch Langerak, who got asked out of international retirement earlier this year and was included in the squad for the games against New Zealand, but never actually got onto the pitch. Now, I guess if you listen to Graham Arnold, he gives two very interesting points here. One, he makes the point that he's not an expert in goalkeepers and that it was a team decision to basically omit Mitch Langerak. Right, and the second point that he made was that he spoke to Mitch when he asked him out of international retirement, basically as a backup in the event that any of the three that he had been using for the majority of the qualification campaign as basically a backup. So if any of the three of Redmayne, Matt Ryan and Vuka got injured, then Mitch would come into the reckoning there. I guess the most contentious point here with the goalkeepers is that Mitch Langerak has had a pretty fantastic couple of seasons in Japan, to the point that, you know, statistically he's actually our best performing goalkeeper on the world stage. In terms of talent, in terms of ability, in terms of performance, considered very much equal or very close to Matty Ryan's level. I think at this point in time, Matty Ryan has earned his spot to not just captain the Socceroos but also be the number one. However, I guess a lot of fans are concerned that what would happen if Matt Ryan was to go down injured. We essentially have two goalkeepers that prior to Mitch Langerak's international retirement would have been considered third choice at best for the Socceroos anyway. You know, that's not to put down both Andrew Redmayne and Danny Vukovic. Both are very solid shot stoppers. Redmayne has obviously written himself into Australian Socceroos history with the penalty saves he made against Peru, and Danny Vukovic, to be fair to him, hasn't had a great season last year, but prior to that was performing very consistently in Belgium. But in terms of, I guess, talent, ability, and performance over the last number of years, you know, I think most fans will be very disappointed that Mitch Langerak has been omitted from the squad. Now into the defence, and in defence has actually been another big talking point with the omission of Trent Sainsbury, who has not only been one of Australia's most consistent performers over the last number of years, but interestingly also Graham Arnold's son-in-law. So it's going to be very interesting to see how dinner at the Arnold household will be. But putting all of that aside, I think this was a very brave decision and probably the right decision, really, in the minds of a number of fans. As solid and as consistent as Trent Sainsbury has been in the Socceroos jersey over the last number of years, the last couple of performances have raised a lot of questions about his ability to continue playing at international level, right? But all of that aside, the defence is, I think, in my opinion, actually quite solid. So at right back, we have Fran Karacic and Nat Atkinson. I am a massive fan of Nat Atkinson. I think he's got a lot of potential to grow into a very fine international player. I've seen a couple of his games for Hearts previously. Very good and solid defensively, good work rate, and also I think for me he's probably favourite to potentially start the first game against, I think it's France we actually play. I think what will probably sort of make Graham Arnold sort of question whether he starts is he has been a little bit injured, quite recently, and also the fact that Fran Karacic has been playing quite regularly for his club in Italy as well. In centre back we have Thomas Deng, Kai Rolls, Bailey Wright, Milos Degenek, and a returning Harry Souttar, who has been, as we know, out with injury for a number of months. Really like the defenders that we've chosen. Very versatile defenders. Thomas Deng, for instance, can also play right back. Bailey Wright previously has also played right back as well. Wright in particular is an interesting choice. Up until probably about a month ago, wasn't playing as regularly for Sunderland as I think fans probably would have wanted him to. But since Sunderland has sort of changed back to a flat back four, Wright's actually come in and been quite a key part of that. So some real positive information there. Positive news there for Bailey Wright. As we know, both Wright and Kai Rolls performed fantastically against Peru. In my mind, if we were to go in terms of who deserves to start, I think Wright and Rolls have earned the right to start in the first game against France. So I certainly wouldn't be disappointed if those two did start. I personally think that Arnold will probably go with Milos Degenek and Kai Rolls. But in saying that, I think whether it's Degenek, Wright, Rolls, or even Souttar, if he's ready to start by then, it doesn't really matter. I think they're all pretty solid choices. At left back is probably a little bit more interesting. We have Joel King and Aziz Bayic that have been chosen. I'm a big fan of Aziz Bayic. I think he's one of those players that will always give you a consistent performance. You know what to expect with him. I'm also quite a big fan of Joel King as well. I think he's got a lot of upside to him. The concern here with King is that he's not getting as many minutes with his club at the moment. Based on the information that's out there, it seems like he's actually third choice left back at his club, which I think will probably be a little bit of a concern, so we can probably rule him out as starting. I think Bayic probably has that spot locked in anyway. With Aziz Bayic, I think he's actually very sort of interesting character in terms of how he performs at an international level for the Socceroos. Think, seen his game against Celtic over the weekend. He was, anytime there was an opportunity to attack, he was down that left flank. Him and Jamie McGrath actually joined together and combined to quite strong effect against Celtic. So McGrath, who was playing more of a withdrawn striker role, found himself in an area between Celtic's right back and right centre back. So that was Anthony Ralston and Carter Vickers. So McGrath basically finding himself in that space saw quite a little ball whenever Dundee United were counter-attacking, and a lot of those balls actually came through as is Bajic. And what we tended to see, quite a bit was Bajic running down the line, playing a ball to either a central midfielder or to McGrath direct. McGrath finding himself in that pocket between the right back and the right centre back, and Bajic attacking on the outside of Anthony Ralston to get in behind Celtic's defence. Now, obviously, regular viewers of the Socceroos don't see that from Aziz Bajic as much. That to me, I am a little bit disappointed in, because I think he's very good at doing that. But unfortunately, I guess the way both Matt Leckie and Awa Mobile play, sometimes there's not that opportunity and space that is created for Aziz Bajic to do that. I think in some instances there's probably also the threat of counterattacks against our defence whenever we do lose a ball in the attacking third, that having Bajic a bit more withdrawn probably just helps protect that us on the counter a little bit more. But I do think he has a lot to contribute attacking down that left flank. Midfield now, we have Keanu Bacchus, Cameron Devlin, Aidan Hrustic, Irvine, McGree and Aaron Moy. Big talking point here is obviously the admission of Tommy Rogic. Rogic hasn't really had much time at West Brom at all. Probably again one of those things where people probably didn't expect Graham Arnold to admit him. Tom Rogic is obviously a very wonderful player. Probably our most technically gifted player. Can change the course of the game. But in saying that, probably doesn't really deserve to go to the World Cup if you take into consideration what has happened in the last couple of months. In saying that, if it was me, I would certainly find room for him. I think he's a wonderful player, wonderful character for Australian football. Had a phenomenal season for Celtic last year. Won the league with them, won the one of the domestic cups. Was just absolutely class. You can't leave a player like that out without losing something to the squad. In saying that, I think the midfielders we have chosen, I'm very excited by the prospect of what they can bring. Not necessarily at this World Cup, but I think for the next cycle. I'm huge fans of both Keanu Bacchus and Cameron Devlin. I've been watching the both of them quite closely in Scotland this season. Saw quite a bit of Devlin last season with his club as well. Both are doing fantastically well. Both have big raps at their clubs at the moment in Scotland, and I think whilst I think that they probably won't get a lot of game time, I don't think certainly they will start any of our 3 games. I think it would be very exciting if they were to get an opportunity off the bench, especially if somehow we maybe pinch a goal or 2 and we need to just shore up the midfield, protect the back 4 a little bit. Both Bacchus and Devlin have that ability and the work rate to be able to do that. I think it's probably expected that Hrustic, Irvine and Moy will make the midfield 3. Aaron Moy's been performing quite well at Celtic. The Celtic fan base, interestingly, a little bit torn between Aaron Moy. They recognise that his range of passing is actually very classy. However, there are huge criticisms about his lack of pace, his ability to turn quickly, and certainly with us playing him as a number 6, we will probably expect that if we were to be hit on the counter, probably there will be issues with our defence with Moy being there. In saying that, the work rate of both Aiden Hristich and Jackson Irvine, I think, should go some way in trying to prevent that further upfield. Can't really praise Irvine and Hristich any more than I probably would outside of this podcast. I think both are fantastic players. Hristich especially has that little bit of swagger about him that I think can make a difference. I would love to see Graham Arnold let him go and attack a little bit more than he's had the opportunity to in a Socceroos jersey. Roddy McGree seems to be having a decent season so far at Middlesbrough. I don't think he will be in line to start any of our games, but I think he can certainly provide a threat off the bench. Interestingly, he's been playing on the left of midfield for Middlesbrough so far this season. Whether that's been in a flat 4 in midfield or a 5, they seem to think there's quite a bit of value in McGree playing on that left-hand side. So it'll be interesting to see how he will be used in contrast to that. Because it's almost certain that I think if McGree is to be introduced into any of the games, it will certainly be as a number 10, not on the flank at all. I think, with the midfield that we have, we're going to expect, Hristich and Irvine to just work their butts off. Irvine's runs into the box has a bit of a Tim Cahill vibe about it. He's very strong in the air. I think he's one of our biggest weapons, especially at set pieces as well. His movement's quite good. He's quite strong. I think where we may fall down a little bit is in trying to not just retain the ball, but maybe do something with it. We sometimes tend to be a little bit conservative with the ball in possession. If there's no options, moving forward for Aaron Moy, then he can sometimes tend to force himself to play a little bit more expansive. I don't think this squad has really played a lot of expansive football, even though I think we've got the players to do that. The idea is to get numbers in the middle. Graham Arnold has said that on, numerous occasions previously. So, you'll probably see Irvine, Hristich sort of zone outside of the 18-yard box as our front 3 basically attack the goals from all directions. It'll be interesting to see whether, that works against France, Tunisia and Denmark. Interesting times, really. So in attack we have Martin Boyle, Jason Cummings, Mitch Duke, Goodwin, Geraint Quoll, Leckie, Awa Mobile and Jamie McLaren. Guess a couple of people might be surprised that Adam Taggart has been admitted. I think Taggart's, a decent enough striker. I don't really see him providing anything different that Mitch Duke provides. I think Duke probably has a much better work ethic. His work rate is phenomenal. Yeah, so probably for me, not really too much of a surprise that he was omitted. Really love the fact that both Geraint Quoll and Jason Cummings have been included in the squad. I don't know if Jason Cummings will get a lot of game time, if I'm honest with you, but I do think he can provide something different that Duke, Leckie and McLaren don't. His ability to come a little bit deeper, hold up the ball, is much better than the aforementioned players. I'll probably foresee us starting with Mitch Duke against France first up. We're probably expected to not have a lot of possession, so we might see Mitch Duke doing a lot of the chasing down of and pressing of France's defence, and then maybe after 65 minutes, depending on how we go, I would probably expect to see maybe Cummings, maybe McLaren come on against hopefully a tiring French defence. I think a lot of that will depend on how well our wider players are playing. I would almost certainly expect Martin Ball to start on the right-hand side. He's had a fantastic season so far. Every time he puts on this Socceroos jersey, he just makes things happen. The guy is absolutely magical. He's fantastic to watch. Just a very hard-working, strong player. Very direct. I think we would certainly be a much poorer team without Martin Boyle in the 26. On the left-hand side, I would expect maybe Awa Mabil to start ahead of Leckie. Part of me sort of goes, maybe not, just because of the fact that he's not getting a lot of game time at club level at the moment, which I think is a shame. I think Mabil just has this special X factor about him that if we allow him to just play without having to overthink too much, then I think we see some special things happen. Certainly against his last couple of games against New Zealand, caused a bit of trouble. When we actually see him back himself and run towards players, beating them on the outside, I think that makes not only for really wonderful football, but it really puts the opposition defence on the back foot. We certainly don't see him do that nearly often enough for the Socceroos. He tends to be quite conservative. He'll receive the ball, will try and come inside or play back inside, maybe make a run towards the middle. In my opinion, he's not that effective in doing that. I think let him receive the ball and just run at players. Honestly, I think that is where he's most effective as a player for us. Just keep it very simple with him. A lot of talk has been on the inclusion of Geraint Quoll, 18 years old. Just X Factor written all over him. No fear, he looks like an absolute gem of a player. I would love to see him get a couple of minutes against all three opposition teams. I think certainly, if we need to chase the game, then throw him on, have no fears, just let him play. The kid can play, and he is absolutely a joy to watch when he has the ball at his feet. He makes things happen, he's not scared, he takes players on. Technique is quite strong as well. And hopefully this is an opportunity for him to have a breakout, more than one breakout moment on the world stage, because I think he will certainly go places. Goodwin, I think, is a good inclusion into the team. Very flexible, can play left back, left wing back if we need as well. Very good, strong player. I don't expect him to start any of the games, but certainly if we need something different coming off of the bench, it's good to have him here. Matt Leckie as well has never failed whenever he's put the jersey on. I would be disappointed to see him start up front as a number 9. I think his best position is out wide. I think it would actually be a wasted opportunity having Leckie start at number 9. My gut feel is that we will probably see Boyle, Duke, and one of Mobile and Leckie start as the front 3. I think against France, that's probably the most logical choice. We're probably not going to get as much possession. We'll probably need to work really hard in trying to press their defence, trying to regain any possession that we can and hit them on the counter. I think in that instance, probably maybe expect Leckie to start ahead of our Mobile. But if that is the case, then I think a lot of our attack will probably be directed down the right side. For Martin Boyle to just run at the opposition left back, whoever that may be. Final thoughts, guys. I think our starting 11 in the first game against France will be as follows. Matt Ryan will start in goals. At right back will be Fran Karacic. Our 2 centre-backs will be Kai Rolls and Milos Degenek. This Page will start at left back. I think we'll have Aaron Moy and Jackson Irvine as the 2 number 6s, and Aiden Hrustic will be a little bit in front of the both of them. And I think that his front 3 will be Martin Boyle on the right, Matt Leckie on the left, and Mitch Duke up forward. Depending on how we go against France, I think we probably will need to work really hard to try and regain the ball and hit them on the counter. Interestingly, I don't think we have really had to do that much in qualification at all, so it'll be interesting to see how we actually counteract France in that regard. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed listening to my thoughts on this. If you do, then I might make this a little bit more of a regular thing during the World Cup cycle. Otherwise, take care everyone, and see you when I see you.